this video is for you, my friend. I will not say your name on video, but it is for someone in particular. Although this will be on my channel, don't worry, you won't know who it is, but you will see their chart and their transits for today, or rather yesterday, because of the full moon in Virgo. Got requested to do this. They had questions, and I thought, okay, well, there's something about this one that I should do. I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun here. There's more than just the basic planets I do, right? As you probably have seen, I do asteroids. In any case, here it goes. I'm not going to show the chart directly because I feel like there's so much. So anyways, but this is particularly for this one particular person. So, for what I notice here is, let's take a look here. So let's start usually with the sun. Your sun is naturally in the 9th house, of course. Nothing affecting it that I see so far. 29 degrees. You have Neptune, sextile, nextile. Now let's go with the squares first. Well, Pluto in Aquarius is a big one that I feel is affecting what you're going through. So you're probably feeling all these intense emotions regarding changes, and it's big thing because it's a square, and it's a lot of challenges that are coming through. It's particularly with society and things that are, because it is transiting your 5th house, so things that you probably tended to enjoy back then, things that are recreational things that are more, feeling more, even romance probably is probably part of this one as well. So real changes are coming through, or society is having a different effect on how you view what was anything 5th house, anything with romance, anything to do with recreational things, anything with children as well. So, and society is changing to the core. Literally, Pluto in Aquarius is changing society's beliefs, and what doesn't work anymore. It needs to be flayed away. I like to use the word flay here because that's what Pluto really does. It flays alive anything that is of no use, that is not true, that is not genuine. And for you, it's really bringing into realities like truth about your own personal, particularly like ego, anything to do with things that you're probably not used to, because you have the sun, and the sun rules the 5th house, so naturally it's a natural ruler through Leo. And with Pluto there, it is actually creating a lot of these changes that are not only challenging your ego, but like your own personal beliefs about yourself, about what makes you happy, or your own personal identity is coming to, it's coming back up. You probably might be experiencing dark night of the souls, and this is a true thing because I know this. I'm very familiar with this energy. So it's not a surprise to go through something like dark and really intense and something, but you come out on the other side really like refreshed and regenerated. So this is the time to process things inwards and really look deep, like fucking deep, like we're talking like shadow work deep, intense, deep, kind of like cathartic things that make you realize like what is it that makes things, what is happiness in the first place? Being the last degrees of your sun in Taurus, it's an intenser energy of wanting things to be more the Taurian way, there's a certain stubbornness about this position, and that's a good thing because that means it's also committed. When it's found something that it's happy about, it will commit to that. But with the Pluto there, it's squaring that. It's definitely a change. It's bringing into question like what is real, what is genuine. You start to question the trivial things that you used to like or trivial things that you identify with. And maybe they're no longer going to be of service to your own elevation. So we also have here Anubis is conjunct Pluto, so that means processing. I'm going to look up here what else I have on Anubis. I believe I finished process of loss. So again, with these, this is the time to work through your own transitions, whatever that may be, realization. So it's very much like Pluto, but it's part of you that needs to work through those processes. And really, if you need to die to these beliefs, that's what needs to happen. It's not one for me to tell you how to do that, because you will discover what that is. But it does have a lot to do with changes in, like, particularly like anything that's fun. Like, what is fun too, right? So what is, it's transiting your fifth house, also Anubis and Pluto. So both of them act like you're going to go through these processes of like, it's very deep. Eventually Anubis will move forward because it is an asteroid. It's not farther away just like Pluto, but it is a closer Earth like Pluto. It's more of that. It reminds us to be transformative in our everyday lives. Sticking to the 9th house placement of your Jupiter, we have Minerva and Uranus conjunct Jupiter. So this feeling of expansion you have naturally of being, it's in the 9th house, so therefore it is, but it's in the cusp of the 9th house. Therefore it has a stronger effect on how you Jupiter then naturally means that you have this natural ability to expand on what you possess. Anything that represents your own personal freedom, your own sense of worth, your own sense of sensuality, what gives you pleasure, what makes things simple, little things of the earth, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be physical things. It could be representational as well. Because it's in the 9th house, it's more about your higher education, any sort of knowledge that you've attained, any sort of philosophy that you've grown, anything you believe in as well. Plus also your dreams and your visions for the future. This is where it expands. Your sun is here as well, so you have this tendency to see yourself, or probably because it's tied to Taurus, so making money, right? So beliefs about those kind of things and dreams about those things. But remember, making money is not always the goal. Maybe it's something else, something that represents freedom. Money is a representation of freedom, so that could be it as well. With Minerva and Uranus, starts bringing new ideas, bringing different perspectives and different, it's breaking free of the old paradigm that you've had to deal with in terms of like, how do I expand this? So Uranus is making that a little bit stranger, making it sort of unexpected. This is where you're going to expect you're going to expect the unexpected in your dreams. Dreams might change. Maybe, we're in the same program, so any sort of niche might also change because that might tie into specific beliefs as well. I'm not sure. So be prepared to change all those things. Be prepared that your dreams are going to change. Be prepared that you're going to get these possibly downloads, and also these potential new ideas or wisdom. Because Minerva, creative intelligence. Any natural talents that might come through, it might probably bring about new different talents and new sort of ways of not only thinking, wisdom, how you start to connect things, because Minerva she was the Roman equivalent of Athena, which is tied to do with weaving. But weaving represents artwork and how things are connected, and how things like, it's something as simple as art, as picture, represents something else that's emotional, but also spiritual, but also mental, but also physical. So be careful of the shadow, where it comes to pointing fingers and being denial of the truth. That sometimes, because we might want to stay away from emotions For you, this might be like a normal thing, but try to let the emotions come through. Sit with it. Sit with those unpredictabilities, those uncertainty, those instabilities of emotions, and be okay with that. Minerva's reminding us it's okay to experience earth-shattering experiences. So you just go with that. Eventually, Jupiter is going to head towards and probably might be in conjunct with Uranus. I'm not sure when, but Jupiter is a faster moving planet, so it is going to conjunct Uranus eventually. Minerva's going to move away from this one. I don't know where she's going to go, and yeah. But we're concerned about what's happening, like right now. So here we go. Any other squares? Okay, let's take a look at the other chart here. Oh, Bacchus. Okay, so indulgence. Watch out for indulgence or overindulgence. When I say overindulgence in this case, we're not just talking about overindulgence, but why we overindulge in the first place, right? Because when we're connected to something that we work really hard for, we kind of feel like we deserve it, right? But Bacchus represents the empowered self of when you work hard at something. You feel good about it, right? So it bears fruit, and that's what Bacchus represents. But sometimes we go further than that and say, well, you start to go into the lack and say, well, I worked hard on this, it's not bearing fruit, so you do the opposite, you overcompensate in a way. So this is the time to be completely accepting of your innate gifts and your powers, so that you can naturally appreciate what is. Bacchus right here is in retrograde, but that means that you might be feeling like you're doubting your own abilities and your own abilities to work hard at something, and transiting your fifth house. So working hard at something that you enjoy, something that you kind of like, do I enjoy this? So I really would sit on it and be with it and meditate on it and process why you're doubting yourself. That feeling of doubt is maybe not the energy you possibly are feeling, but if you do, you will know once you really sit with it, because it's opposite. It's square your. Is it squaring Jupiter? Hold on, let me double check here. No, it's just in your fifth house. I don't see it as square anything. So it's in 29 degrees, 20, 24, 20, 23 degrees. Okay, well, it is square your sun. Okay, so personal beliefs about yourself, personal any sort of identity, that might also come into question. Combine that with what I said earlier about, what was that planet? With Pluto there. The intense feelings that you would be getting is, well, yeah, you would still be quite feeling the intensity, but it's not intensity like negative intensity with romantic relationships, maybe not romantic, but like things you enjoy. Pluto in Anubis there is actually not square, it's trying your sun. So that means you're going to naturally process these things naturally. So your identification, you'll go through these changes and probably intense changes, but you'll be okay with it. And you'll know how to process these, and you'll probably spend a lot of time regenerating and finding yourself in your own little space, and that's okay. So sometimes I misread things, and that's normal, and that's part of the process. Bacchus, okay, go back to Bacchus. That's the one that is square your sun. So squaring your sun, that's the one where overindulgence comes in. Again, I mentioned it just about a minute ago, that Bacchus is overindulgence. So that means it's because it's over. The reason why it's overindulgence is when we work hard at something, it feels like if we don't enjoy it, it feels like we didn't do enough, right? So what that means is that you'll need to work hard at something, but let it bear fruit on its own, let it bear fruit naturally, and appreciate it naturally for what it is exactly it is, without judgment, without any labels. Let's see. Delphine is abilities or visionary gifts. I believe Delphine is in 11 degrees. So Delphine is Delphine is conjunct. Okay, Delphine, Mars and Venus are conjunct to each other. So you might have visions and abilities, like get insights and prophecy and all those things, but it also means that it can lead to hearsay, things that probably you kind of wonder, is this where is the truth? Which one is the truth, right? So this is a part of your experience. With it being in the fifth house, you're probably coming across people, or maybe just like your own recreational needs or things that you enjoy, whatever it is, or particularly maybe in this, whatever the program that we're in, maybe things that you enjoy. Maybe sometimes you might feel this intense, maybe not necessarily intense, but like this sort of aggressive need to work on and work with the values that you set for yourself, with the beliefs that you set for yourself. Not really these beliefs, but because Venus is about self-worth and things that we enjoy, anything to do with art, theater, dancing, music. She's very much like the sun, like Leo, but it's more about pleasure. Combine that with Mars, which is like willpower, assertiveness, aggressiveness as well, possibly also accidents. You might come into contact with people. There's also relationship based, right? Both planets are relationship based, and because it's in the fifth house, it's right there. So most likely going to come across people who might not understand, or rather it might come off like there might be passions, there might be some sort of experiences. You meet someone, there's a lot of passion behind it. But is it true? Delphine is right there creating opportunities for us to, is it retrograde? Okay, no, it's not. So there are opportunities for you to see what's behind the veil. So whether these sort of interactions or encounters might be the one that's true. It's in all three planets are in Aquarius, so it definitely brings out the truth. So encounters with people, not necessarily romantic, but kind of possibly more like maybe social romanticization or social romantic experiences, maybe sudden unexpected experiences with people that you never thought, oh, wait a second. But this might also create rumors, because it's, when I say create rumors, I mean like you have to figure out which experiences come to you, which ones are true and which ones are not true. So you have to be discerning. This is what this is telling me. It's around 11, 10, 9 degrees. So it is square the transiting Jupiter. So this might feel like it's going to be expansive, but in a very sort of like challenging way. Where Jupiter right now is transiting Jupiter is transiting your 8th house. So that means you have to transform through these beliefs, and it's just going to grow. And it's going to teach you to work with that and transform with it. So whether that means you have to really take time to process it, isolate, maybe not isolate, maybe, reflect, time for yourself, breathe. But you also have angel in your 8th house anyway, so that'll teach you to trust in guidance. But speaking of guidance, you also have Echo there. So we'll get into that in a little bit here, because I still want to talk about Here it is. This is. Let's take a look. Actually, no, I'll go through this one. Okay, so let's go to the moon itself. So we've been kind of looking into this. So the moon is transiting your 12th house, which is conjunct Nemesis. Nemesis is memory. So, but it's all retrograde. So Nemesis retrograde means that you probably have questions about anything to do with past memories from the past, or maybe from your childhood, maybe things in the womb, maybe maybe things appear in your dreams that are of the past. That is, sorry, just one second. And things of the past and things of maybe the future as well. You might get insights when you're dreaming, like literally like in theta state, both present and future. So if you get any of those, don't be surprised. But it most likely be emotional based, and you kind of question, what are those? Or there might be a block on you. It feels like some sort of strange memory, but you don't know how to deal with it. Let's take a look. It's also the time to recall, or rather commemorate, certain memories that you've had, whether it's in dreams or in real life, that come back to you, whether it's a download or not. And even though they might be sort of these experiences like, I don't know what this means, I just feel like I'm going to analyze it. It is in Virgo, right? Of course, both Nemesis. So you're most likely going to analyze it, probably to death. And the emotions are going to be more stable, of course. But Pam Gregory did mention that Virgo does rule little things. So with the moon there, you might feel a sense of, especially when you're what do you call this? When you go through situations where you have to reflect, times of reflection, areas of reflection in your life, past memories, and kind of not only analyze, but look at the little things possibly also regarding health, right? Anything to do with that, anything to do with past experiences with health, generally health, but also any sort of unconscious things that you've done before, things that you probably have taken for granted as well. Skills that probably, like, okay, what are those, right? I notice here also Hecate is transiting your 12th house. It's in the last degrees of Leo, but it's in retrograde. So that means that questioning your own inner power, ability to work with divine power and inner magic, basically your own inner witch inside you, and actually figure out what that means for you. Like how does that liberate you in terms of your past and your future and your present moment? Are they even separate, right? But retrograde here means that you probably question that as well. Like, am I even connected to the angels? Am I connected? Am I getting these signs? And these all most likely come out in a more subconscious way, things that you'll most likely do in times of silence, meditation, places or times when you need to be really still and quiet. Otherwise, it feels like nothing is coming through. And again, if you doubt any of those things, sit with it and never just go with it. With the moon, a moon is actually transiting Jupiter. So the mood, the emotions that you're probably going to go through, and as being analytical and your sensitivity towards things, especially will probably what cause you to be reflective and also kind of get away from people, or vice versa, where you have to, or when you're in reflective mode, or when you're in times when you're by yourself and it's still, that's when the emotions might still get heightened, especially regarding how that will help you transform in a very profound way, more on earthly based things. So maybe things that you question about your own skills, abilities, self-worth, ability to be of service those kind of things. That is still Virgo, but tied in Taurus. Any sort of natural gifts that you might have that you probably go, I don't know, right? So those kind of things might come up. Let's see. The moon is in okay. Heracles, no. No. Okay. With this is Chiron. Chiron, Daphne, North Node, Heracles are all in conjunct with each other. They're all transiting your seventh house, but in the last degrees. No, the seventh house. Yeah, it's basically towards eighth house as well. So transformations with relationships. What society wants is freedom naturally with the North Node in Aries, and with Daphne there. Okay, there might be fears of romantic commitments, because people might be, people might see that they want to, someone's probably chasing you. I'm not really sure what that means, but maybe, or the world is making you chase their dreams for you, or that past wounding is probably starting to come up in relationships, or memories of those as well. The moon is in 11 degrees, and Daphne is 11 degrees. Okay, it still would be considered a conjunction. No, it's a quincunx. So emotions that you're probably feeling, going through, especially memories about those, possibly, yeah, that might come through. But definitely the emotions that you're probably going through is you have to adjust to what society will, instead of being it, you kind of you want to kind of make sure that you're analyzing it. You're probably feeling like you've had to analyze things to death, but when it's your own personal freedom at stake, because these deep wounds are starting to come back up, possibly regarding any sort of agreement that you've had. It's in the seventh house, so it's with Daphne there. It's like your fear of committing to your own personal journey, or how that fits in with society, and actually sticking to your guns. Heracles is also here. It's your strong will. It's like Mars, and really like just sticking to your guns, and really, it's okay that you have those wounds. It's okay that they're coming up, and how do you deal with them? How do you process them? How do you integrate them? Right? Chiron is about integration. So how do you integrate any sort of loss of freedom you had before, or wounding of freedom that you had before, any maybe reminders of society. Maybe society wants you to do it this way, but you're like, I don't know if I want to do it this way. So maybe analyzing won't be necessarily bad, but if you overanalyze it, similarly, if you underanalyze it, then it won't be, it might not help. Echo here is transiting close to, I would say, conjunction to angel. I would say it's probably conjunction, but if it's not, it's in the eighth house. So you're probably having to transform through mimicking what others are doing, particularly mimicking how others feel free, and you want to be that way as well. You want to obtain your own freedom, and you want to be free from that as well. You want to be like, I don't want to copy what other people do. But sometimes there's a good side to that, right? When you're copying others, sometimes there's no other resource, and you just want to do that, and it's okay. So the moon is also opposite, I believe, Saturn right now. But Saturn is conjunct Delphine, your own house, your own sixth house Delphine. And I would say also Hecate, Nemesis. Okay, so you have to balance between the limitations that you probably experience in health, maybe restrictions, maybe um, in your own chart, Delphine is you have natural abilities to how to heal, right? So we've kind of already talked about that before, where you have these natural abilities to, it's actually guidance, it's guided gifts. It's like you have this natural ability to process healing through other means, most likely through spiritual means, but also through visions. And it's, Delphine is like not just visions. Delphine is, what did I say? So um, any sort of psychic power, spiritual gifts, but sometimes you can't know whether those are real. So you kind of question, you naturally, what you tend to do is naturally question that. Or rather, it's not question, but it's like people probably in the workplace, you can't tell people who you usually work with, it's in the sixth house, or rather you're unconscious about these gifts. You probably take it for granted. Not saying you do, but with Saturn there, it's getting you to process that naturally. With Saturn there, it's kind of telling you to process. Maybe it's time to take it more to a physical level and say, how are these gifts maybe necessary, by grounding yourself a little bit more and saying, okay, how do I, maybe it's the lower chakras that need more grounding. It's because Saturn here also creates a bit of fear as well. It creates limits because we feel like I have these visionary gifts, but are they visionary gifts, or which ones are guidance, which ones are downloads, and which ones are not? So Saturn puts I guess you could say a dampener on this by saying maybe you need to work hard on this one. Saturn tells us to kind of be patient with it, work hard at something. Maybe not necessarily work hard, but just enough so that we can understand where we're headed towards that, so that the gift will naturally come about. Sun is also conjunct here Saturn with Mercury. So any form of government, any sort of heady governing bodies, you might come across people who don't, communication might be kind of an issue, self-expression, especially in the workplace or any sort of work environment, or any sort of any sort of service that you provide. Maybe it could be that job you recently you got in yourself into. I think it was with magic. So you might come across the limitations with communication and people being able to, or not being able to express themselves probably in the workplace. For you, it's going to be more, it pertains more towards any sort of health, any sort of unconscious, you're going to have to kind of bring that to the surface. What are those fears that I have? Right? Hecate is also your inner power. So it's telling you to remind you to work through those and really trust inner guidance, but at the same time balance inner guidance with work. With opposite of those up to the moon, you might be feeling like, I'm not sure if how much of this is true. It's probably also bringing back some past stuff as well. That's where the past comes in. Past things about limitations, past fears, past people who are controlling, people who are, or who have controlled you in the past, people who have created limits for you. Probably that brings up memories of the past as well. But you have to stick to your guns and say, okay, well, this is my truth. So really, really look at everything. Be all four elements, right? Trust your intuition, work hard at something, but let the information come through, but feel through it as well. And then repeat it, rinse and repeat. So, Okay, so let's take a look. What else is there? Oh, Hygeia is transiting your sixth house. Fitting planet for sixth house because Hygeia is hygiene. So hygiene might be still, it's kind of, it's conjuncting your north node in the sixth house. But as we know, your north node is, oh no, it's not in the last degree zone, but it is conjunct your descendant as well. So it has a lot to do with both your health with relationships, your any sort of unconscious, not necessarily just general relationship, any sort of agreement as well, seventh house. So your own approach to how certain this is, how clean or how hygienic this is might come through. But the North Node here in Pisces, your idealism towards what is idealized relationships or idealized contract, idealized maybe like, because you're probably having grown up, things were more about probably like a really super clean environment. So you're probably doing the opposite of that, where you just kind of, oh no no no, it's not. So sorry, mixing that up. Sorry, North Node in Pisces, idealized idealism. You probably grew up in a family where we talked about this before, where you have very much like a very highly spiritual family or people that you were surrounded with and never got to really know the facts, right? That's why your ascendant is in Virgo, so you come off very like analytic and kind of breaking things down and really, perfectionist, because the opposite was there. That's the shadow, right? So here Hygeia is bringing about what it means to be clean, to be proper, to be of good natured and goodwill. Like, what did they say in Christianity? Cleanliness is next to godliness. So it's kind of like that. Take it as that. I'm not really that familiar with Hygeia, but it's something to do with health, directly with health. It is transiting your sixth house, so something to do with your north node. And if you honor that, it's something to do with health, where it's helping people possibly. It's probably coming to the forefront now, where you probably need to help others directly with their health through a spiritual means. I don't know how that's working for you, but yeah. Okay. What else do we have here? Oh, okay. All right. So Sedna is transiting your ninth house again, but you have, okay, so you're probably getting back ideas of how to, because Sedna's in the last degrees of Taurus, just like your sun was. So new ideas probably, or new coming back to, you're probably realizing there are some things that are worth doing because it makes you happy, like true happiness, like childlike happiness. And Senna is bringing that back up, specifically pertaining to health. Yes, health as well, because it's something to do with farming, and anything to do with the earth, bringing back natural things. So you probably are experiencing that quite a lot. What else is there? Because you have, so the Orcus is it conjunct the moon right now? Okay. Remember earlier we talked about, I mentioned that the moon is a conjunct, the moon is conjunct Nemesis, so past memories, you might start to doubt those things. But Orcus is right there as well. Orcus is conjunct, it's in retrograde too. So you start to question your, like maybe integrity, maybe questions about integrity. You might dream about those, or subconscious, or times of reflection. You might also question those. But it's also conjunct Juno right now. So being able to commit yourself to that sort of like very, um, yes, analytical, but at the same time looking at the little things, and maybe there is such a thing as like overanalyzing it, but not towards obsession, but just towards getting the right information, right? It's not about the details, but more like getting the right facts. Here, being committed to that, marrying yourself to that journey of integral emotional analysis without overanalyzing it to death. Varuna is transiting your 11th house. So anything to do with communities, it's right there. It's conjunct your own natal Orcus and Vesta. So naturally, your Orcus Vesta is something that you're committed to your own integrity. You're devoted to being honest, and especially within like communities that you're in, very direct and very childlike about it as well. And you're honest about what it means to be pure and joyful and happy, and childlike and also artistic at the same time, working with your own creativity. But Varuna there is transiting, and because it's in retrograde, it's kind of making you question how much of that you've mastered, how much of the task you've accomplished, how much you really committed to that in a very natural way. Are you breaking any sort of like divine laws? Am I following what's right? Am I actually being not only not only should you have integrity, but you kind of maybe question that how far have I gone? And with Varuna, I would say Varuna squared Jupiter. It's also going to be more something you're really expansively transforming. There's a lot of things that are put into question here. You have Vesta. Is it Vesta? Let's take a look. You have Vesta. First of all, it's conjunct Mercury and your own natal Varuna. So Vesta is asking you to bring back up, like, what are you committed to communicating in a correct way? Are you devoting yourself to being expressive and really sticking to your guns and going straight forward with that, but at the same time without breaking any natural laws, so to speak? Like, it's your Varuna there is conjunct your Mercury, so you naturally have this ability to kind of be certain with how you say things. I noticed that when you speak, like, you're very like, boom, 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 this is what it is. It's very straightforward. It's very matter of fact. With Vesta there, it's adding that sort of like, it's a deeper approach to loyalty and commitment. It's devotion. It's your Kundalini energy. It's your sort of like, where is that coming from? Is this guided guidance, and like these information that you get, is these downloads? So you're probably getting those things and getting you to own your own inner sacredness. Like, are the things that you're communicating about yourself, whether it's about yourself or anything generally, or particularly about your own career. It's in the 10th house. Any sort of reputation, any sort of things that relate to reputation, ego. Are they coming off honest? Are they not only coming off, are they coming from a place of purity and sacredness? And like, it's kind of like that. I don't know how to explain the energy of Vesta, but it's like she had no form in any of the gods. Among all the other gods in Rome, she had no form. She was like no form, just formless. She was just fire. So it's your inner fire. Like, how true and honest are you going to be with your own way of communicating, expressing yourselves, particularly when it's your ego and your reputation on the line, right? So if it's about reputation, then what does that mean? Is it true to have reputation, right? Those kind of things you might want to ask yourself when Vesta is reminding you to be devoted to that purity. With it, it's also square your Haumea, ascendant conjunction. I realize that now. You have Haumea retrograde and ascendant. Naturally, that just means that you have this natural ability to regenerate yourself, to be more natural. You really you embody the natural, but you kind of doubt that, or rather have kind of a sort of, people might see you as like, he likes the natural, but you're probably afraid to show it. With Vesta there, we already have Varuna Mercury square that conjunction, but it's with Vesta there telling you to be more, again, that whole honesty thing, be pure with it and just allow for that purity in your fire to come out. And I think it's reminding me it's okay to maybe go through doubts of like, oh, is this what's natural or just not what's natural, right? So, because Vesta is also square, because Haumea was square your descendant and / Ceres, Vesta is actually reminding you to honor and be more attentive towards self-care, right? Because your self-care and your Ceres and your Haumea are opposite of each other, and that means that in order for yourself to be healthy and focus on yourself at the same time, because how do you be natural? So maybe there's a part of you that wants to be that inner child again, right? Be kind of dependent. It is in Pisces. So Pisces likes to have others kind of do things for themselves. Pisces likes that energy of like, just tell me what to do. I'll be okay with it. I'll be flexible with it. But sometimes that energy kind of also takes away your own personal power. Ceres is about self-care. So it's both your inner child and your inner parent. So it's kind of a balance of both, that it's okay to sometimes be your inner child, be your inner parent, but balancing those two together so that you can nurture yourself and not necessarily be completely independent, but understand that there's a gift behind loss and gains. It's okay to have loss and gains because that creates the balance of everything, right? Vesta squaring that, transiting Vesta, again, it's reminding you to find the purity in that, the pure energy that comes from those. So in other words, Vesta is really telling you to meditate on it. Meditate on your own inner abilities, that you have this natural gifts, that you have this natural ability to be your own parent and be your own child. That it's okay to be independent without being too independent, and it's okay to be dependent without being too dependent. Vesta also, I believe, 23 degrees. Well, it's opposite of your nadir, which is like to balance inner processing, like your ability to kind of be private with what that means also. So you meditate on it and really work through that. Probably awakening thoughts, because I think that that you're probably going through these thoughts and just wondering what are all these energies I'm feeling, especially through your head, right? Possibly also through your body, the arms particularly. Like maybe some things feel kind of uncertain. Maybe you feel like these, I don't know what it is, like something to do with the arm. So that's Mercury. Let's see where Varuna is. Varuna has a specific part of the body. Parathyroid glands. So somewhere here, I'm not really sure. Parathyroid glands. So something to do with parathyroid gland and your and your arms. So I don't know if you're feeling it somewhere in the chest here. I'm not really sure, but it's probably deeper. I'm not really sure what Beruna represents in the body itself, but yeah. If you see numbers like, actually, let's go with Vesta. If you see numbers 4 repeating, that's Vesta, reminding you to be more pure. Uranus doesn't have a number. Uranus, I don't believe, has a number. 22. If you see numbers 22 repeating, that's Uranus coming through, meaning you should be okay with yeah. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I got a little distracted here. So what else is there? If you have any questions about the things physically, I'm not really into that, but sometimes I do add it in. Uranus rules the nervous system, so watch out for your nervous system. Be kind to yourself. Be still. The moon rules the breast area, so the chest, the breast area. Nipples, digestive juices. Watch out for your nervous system as well. Glands, lymphatic system, digestive juice. So watch what you eat as well, because sometimes, even though the moon in Virgo right now makes you feel like you need to be kind of pure and all that stuff, sometimes that escape from the unpure leads one to do the opposite. Watch out for the shadow, watch out for those emotions. Even though you can analyze them, sit with those emotions. Let them go up and down. That's the moon, it's vibration. So you're probably a little more sensitive when you're sleeping. You're feeling like probably in your dreams, you sense it a little bit more. I'm not really sure. What else is there? Jupiter also has a specific number. Jupiter. If you see the number 6, that also comes through. So let's take a look at Eris right here. Eris is in 25 degrees. 25 degrees Aries, 25 degrees. Let's take a look. 25 degrees Aries. Okay, so let's go back to the echo thing here. So 25 degrees Eris is in conjunct echo right now. So it's in your transiting your 8th house. So again, we talked about a little bit earlier where I said echo is mimicry. So when you feel like you are copying what others do or copying what society is doing so that you can fit in, sometimes it's okay to do that, and you kind of have to really discern both emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, what that means. Am I just copying things? Because sometimes people don't want to be forgotten. Especially if you're like, let's say, Leo. Leos don't like to be forgotten. Sometimes it's also okay to be not forgotten, meaning that it's okay to just repeat things or copy things just for the sake of have fun with it, because it is also in Aries, so it's in the present moment. So it's okay to be a mimicker of things. It's okay to mirror what others are doing, and that's probably what you're mirroring. That's totally okay. And you're probably also mirroring social, like what people might perceive as social inclusion, social justice. Might get tested, might get feel like there's something different. And it's like, okay, right? So she also represents 6. Her number is 6. Echo is number 6. So anything that repeats, if you feel that anything is repeating, specifically with any sort of transformative transformation you're going through, Echo is right there. So especially with guidance, any sort of okay, naturally, any guidance, angel of the asteroid is actually conjunct Echo right now, or I think it's going to head towards conjunction. So that means you're probably going to get, through your transformative process, you're going to get signs that, yes, that repeat themselves. Aries is 25 degrees Aries. I'm wondering if there's anything else. Okay, it's square your square your natal Bacchus and natal moon. So that means that Eris and Echo actually because you naturally, your moon in your Bacchus there is you naturally indulge in you work hard to be close to a specific type of community, any sort of community, and you want to kind of want to get yourself close to that. Has to be very close knit, very sort of family like. You want your community to be like that. With Echo and Eris there in conjunction, it's kind of making it feel like you are getting guidance from Angel there, which is a square though, but it means that you get guidance from communities, but you don't sometimes. These are more like they come in forms of challenges. They come in forms of like, especially those who want their own freedom of healing from the community that you're in. Maybe they don't want to be so. Maybe they feel like they're smothered. That's okay. Let them be. Right. Echo and Eris, they're both in Aries, are going to be are transiting, of course, your 8th house. So because they're this is in the house of transformation. This is also the house of taboos and fears that you might have around copying what society, in order to feel like you belong. Taurus wants to feel like part of a relationship. Taurus likes pleasantries. Taurus likes pleasing things. But this is also why it wants to be sort of like consistent, wants to stay consistent, doesn't like changes, right? But with Echo there, even though Echo is mimicry and Eris, you feel like you probably need to do what others do, to not just to belong. That's okay. With its square Bacchus and Moon, it's telling you not to overdo it. Not to overdo with like, maybe not to be so dependent with your own communities, any community that you're in, any sort of social group, any group that you're in. Right, could be clubs as well. It could also mean it's also the income you earn from your boss, any sort of income from your career or your work. Right, it's in the 11th house, right? With Echo squaring that, it's telling you to just you can be yourself when you need to be yourself. So it's really about timing, but also divine timing. Angels is right there as well. So watch out for those kind of things. Always try to be present. Basically, that's the whole key to this whole thing. What else? So that's pretty much what I've said. So those are the most important things that I noticed. Oh, Angel is actually retrograde right now. So you might naturally get like guidance when you're in transformative, like in your, when you're times, when you're, I guess you can say isolation, when you're kind of moments where you're kind of by yourself, where you have time to process things and really transform. But this is a kind of deeper transformation. But with Angel, square your own Angel. And that Angel is retrograde. So you might start to feel like you're doubting the guidance you get, especially through communities. So you're asked to transform that and be okay that it's like, maybe you have doubts, and that's all okay. That's, it's okay to have doubts. It's okay to feel insecure. It's okay to not know, right? New beginnings that you probably experience, I forgot to mention Eos, is in the 2nd house. So probably you might kind of go through these moments of questioning what maybe your new ways of making money. It's in the 2nd house, but it's in retrograde. So you kind of wonder, it's like, is this the one, or is this the right one? Is this where I'm supposed to be headed? It's in the last degrees of the Libra. So it is, oh, okay, it's a square. It's square Pluto. We're going back to Pluto here. So you might go through intense experiences of new uh, encounters with new relationships, probably. This is more probably tied with relationship with the public, or fun things or recreational things with not necessarily public, but yeah, like communities as well. Um, but you're kind of wondering, like, who are these new communities that I'm with? What do they have to offer me? And it's in Libra, so you kind of wonder, it's like, how is that bringing me peace? How is that? You have that intensity about that. It's a little bit intense because it's in the last degrees of Libra. It wants to really be like new relationships. Is this new? Is this a good one? Right? Um, there's something else about this one. So you can naturally go through cycles, and it's okay to have fresh starts. But sometimes, when you're starting over and you want a clean slate, sometimes maybe that clean slate may not be the right one, and that's what it probably feels like right now. You probably feel kind of like, I don't know if this is the one. You kind of feel powerless about it, and that's okay. Watch out for your circadian rhythm. Make sure that it's not you're not ignoring circadian rhythm. Uh, Light therapy, I heard that it actually works good for this one. You might see numbers 5, right? I'm still new to numerology, so those are kind of things that I sometimes add into these little things. There are lots of other things that I do include. That's the general thing. There's more physical things that I'm starting to add and include into this, like medical astrology, mundane astrology. Okay. Um, you might get into also like new contracts or renewing contracts. Places like retirement homes, old age, any sort of like something to do with like youth and old age, like or even like fake love. It's in the second house, so that can tie into with because it ties in with the fifth house. Pluto is there, so you might come across fake love, and it's like, but it's like an intense sort of realization that you might have to go through. Dating apps probably as well. EOS is also tied to dating apps. I think it is. Websites or simple meaningless dating apps. Multi-age dating sites, okay. Any sort of revisions that you might have to go through, like any revisions of life itself, revisions of new monetary projects, I'm not really sure. Things that represent your own sense of freedom or money as freedom, that's the second house. Probably also dealing with like older people or youth as well, it's both. Okay, what else is there? So I'm sure I missed a lot of things, but I'm kind of just like running through this. This is a very long video, and this is the longest I've ever kind of done in terms of like a personal transit transit reading. Just called a transit because these planets are transiting temporarily. They're there to kind of wake you up. You have Lilith, the oscillating Lilith, not mean Lilith, oscillating Lilith. Is this the real? Oh yeah, oscillating Lilith. Moon. This is the one that I feel is important. It's shadow might, shadow is something that you might come across a lot these days. And especially through your dreams or through times of reflection. Because you also have Prometheus in conjunct your ascendant. What else is there? Haumea is also conjunct your ascendant. So naturally you have this foresight ability, but usually comes to you in your dreams or in your theta state possibly. Most likely like in times of reflection, meditative states, kundalini energy, any of those things. Um, and but with Lilith, there, both, you have two types, technically three types of Lilith going through. One is conjuncting Prometheus, and one is conjuncting the moon. So both of those are about shadow work. So, or like what you're most afraid of, you have to go through those. Really have to process it. What else did I see here? When you're alone and you're in times of your privacy, when you're private, like in your own moment, times of privacy, um, you might have to have, you might start to feel like you need to have some kind of backup. Osiris is transiting your fourth house. So naturally there, we talked about this before, you have your Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all in retrograde. So questioning your own transformative abilities to transcending abilities. So kind of like dealing with fears and specific fears, specific things that you need to change, but it's more internalized, and you had to go through really a lot of these experiences, like deep processing, specifically regarding like reputation, career, and family. That's that's the general family environment that you were in, and things were kind of like um, things were kind of, maybe you perceive things to be kind of they were unexpected changes, but at the same time they're like internal unexpected changes. It felt kind of like, and this is a little awkward. I don't know when things are gonna be here and there, it's already unexpected, and then you're doubting it even more, right? So further instability, but at the same time further instability, and questioning of your own authenticity as well. That's the family you grew up in with. But with Osiris there, it's probably getting you to also transform. It's similar to Anubis, but Osiris is about heredity and DNA transformation. Is it? No, it's not. Okay. Getting back on the horse. So it's death and rebirth. It's much like Pluto, but it is more about you own sexual power. And this is not necessary to say that it's sex itself, but sexual power. This is where we probably go through sexual transmutation, real virility, real fertility. And I don't know, this probably has, I don't know how this ties into your fourth house, but probably I'm not really sure. Something to do with fertility, horticulture, agriculture. Okay. Anything to do with homeopathy, holistic medicine, urology as well. Recycling. Issues about, this is more of a Monday, like the world itself, but maybe this ties into here as well. Like maybe corruption might come through as well. Reminders of like, oh, it's like this is what happened. So it might feel like not just memories coming back up. Let's see if it has Nemesis. No, but shadow about those things might be coming up. So you're reminded of like the things that you're probably afraid of. Things like maybe not necessarily afraid of, but like emotions might come back up regarding those things. Might be seeing someone like some sort of fertility counselor. I'm not really sure. No, that's just more vocation. No, but something to do with reproductivity, virility, penis. it is a lot to do with that as well. So any sort of issues with that on your private little space, um, yeah, we'll have to go through that separately. I kind of have to talk about that. You have Lilith itself conjunct Prometheus. So shadow work into processing being yourself is in your transiting your third house. So learning how to communicate your natural gifts maybe to people who accept you completely unconditionally for who you are and what you are. But at the same time, being honest with who you can actually reveal those to and divulge that information to. Particularly because it's in Sagittarius, it's about your own personal philosophy and how you communicate that to the rest of the world. Probably your neighbors, probably your siblings, but it is Lilith and Prometheus transiting your third house. Let's take a look. It's in the 7 degrees. So it's square the moon itself. Is it square the moon? Yeah, it's kind of square. It's square the moon. So it's both transits, both Lilith, Prometheus square the moon itself. So you might analyze these emotions and kind of process them your own way, and then later divulge what you need to divulge to others, or it could be anyone really. But in general, how you express those about your own truth and what your fears are, and what you kind of the meanings you get out of those. Okay, so there's a lot to go through and unpack here. That was like a really long video, but that's part of the whole process. Okay, so I didn't show you the chart because I feel like it's not going to be that useful. But if you do want a copy of the charts, let me know. Here we go. We're going to do a bit of tarot as well today, because I thought it might. I know you didn't ask for this one, but I feel like I have to do this one. Maybe because I'm just also needing to practice this one. Okay. Still not good with cards. Okay, here we go. So whatever comes out, I'll take that. That one's coming out. That one's coming out. Okay, I'm just going to do a 3 card spread, which is what you're learning. Problem, suggestion, and answer. Okay, so the first card that came up was an upside down Knight of Wands. Which is, okay, second card, okay, was a Magician. It's funny how that ties into what you do. Okay, this one upside down, Strength. Okay, but it's upside down. So the Knight of Wands is telling me possibly being kind of like a lone ranger in a way, like you're kind of riding through unknown territory, probably through places that are isolated. It's in the desert. I can see there the gifts, the pyramids of Giza. But you're also being able to, you're also able to restore and regenerate through this isolation or this sort of solitude, because you have salamanders there in the I don't know what that is, I don't know what that is, of the night, and because you carry a stick and it's wood in its nature, it's tied to that. But you also have fiercefulness about it, fierce behind it. You're fierce because of the fire coming out of the helmets. I feel like that's fire. The horse is also kind of orangey red, so that means like confidence, lower chakras. Yellow is a color as well, confidence. But you may kind of doubt those because it is kind of upside down. The magician here kind of pointing up and down that things are eternal, so it is so as above, so below. That when you try to trust in the nature of things from the divine, you trust also in the nature of things on earth. And with all four elements here, for all the cups are here, the pentacles are here, sword and wands are in here. So you have to accept your wholeness as well. So this represents infinite wholeness and divinity. I'm not sure. We'll have to confirm with my book here. So with the upside down strength, strength in the divine because it's infinity, strength in your own divinity, strength in your own courage and strength, and that ties in actually with the Heracles that I saw earlier. And Heracles, I believe, conjuncting your north, collective north node with Chiron and what's the other one? I totally forgot. Okay, so really in being trusting with that courageous and childlike self as well. Lion represents Leo, so, but that's, okay, so let's take a look at what it says there. So, Knight of Wands. Okay, gift the gab but bragging. Okay, self-assured but vain, charming but insensitive, seductive but lustful, enthusiastic but makes empty promises, accomplished but exaggerates truth, loves to be loved but hates to be possessed. Sounds familiar. Likes to depart but not to arrive, adventurous and daring but restless and unreliable. So I kind of misread that. So impetuous, daring. Well, yeah, that makes sense. But I feel like the Lone Ranger didn't really fit in there. So it's kind of like an imbalance, right? But at the same time, it could be both. That it's like, balancing yourself. Remember the shadow thing? The shadow thing is coming up. And you have the Magician right here. So the Magician presents ability to manifest, realizing your potential. Knowledge is the key to success. But don't deceive yourself that you know all the answer, focusing on the goal. Then you have Strength here. Okay. Facing reality, taking control of your life, learning to take responsibility for reactions, ability to forgive imperfection, being tolerant of others' faults, inner strength, awareness of your instinctive powers. Ties in with everything I just read right here. Right, instinctive powers, trying to tie things in, really trusting from within, but at the same time learning to balance things and not being so Taurus. Right, so I think that's it. I usually do the tarot at the end of the videos. But if you have any questions, let me know. That's all for now. Thank you. I will see you later. Bye.